What is preemptive persuasion? You are able to pretty much bring up to the seller a challenge or a situation that they're going through that they haven't told you yet. How can you talk about a situation or a problem that they're facing before they even bring it up? What happens when you're spread so thin across so many types of lists is it makes it impossible for you to fully understand the motivation and the needs of any particular seller. And this is where this technique is so powerful. Using preemptive persuasion to close more deals, more real estate deals, is something that I've been using for a while. My team's been using for a while. And when it comes to marketing for real estate leads, the biggest challenge I see from a lot of people is you are spread way too thin across too many different types of lists. So what happens when you're spread so thin across so many types of lists is it makes it impossible for you to fully understand the motivation and the needs of any particular seller. All right. And this is where this technique is so powerful. So all of my students, this is a training that I did about a month or two ago in my mastermind. And we went into the nuts and bolts about it and everything. And it's something that when you use it, I mean, you're just like, you're like, man, this shit just got easier. I'm like, yes, I know it gets easier this way. It becomes so much easier and the deals you close are so much bigger. Every time I hear, so I do call reviews. And the reason I do call reviews is I've been a part of quite a few masterminds and they teach you all these techniques and strategies, which is great. But sometimes the fundamentals of like, man, you suck on the phone, nobody tells you, right? So you're saying, but I'm doing the right list. I'm doing the right strategies and all this. Why am I not getting deals? Because you're not good on the phone. So when I listen to these call reviews from my students and they're like, yeah, there wasn't any motivation. I'm listening. I'm like, but you didn't ask this question or this question or this question or this question. And they're like, well, they just told me they weren't interested. I'm like, I know. Of course they're going to tell you they're not interested because they don't want to talk to you right now, right? And that's completely understandable. And you got to accept that. So what we got to do is we got to use that's preemptive persuasion. I made it up. At least I think I made it up. I haven't heard anybody else talk about it. But where I got this idea from is when you're trying to persuade somebody, when you're trying to talk to a seller and everything, how can you talk about a situation or a problem that they're facing before they even bring it up? And this came about when I was talking to a lot of my sellers and I would say, in such and such situation, I've worked with a homeowner that was going through this, and this is how we helped them because these were the challenges. They're like, oh my God, it's like you're in my head. I'm like, I know I'm in your head because I've dealt with this situation so many times before. Why? Because I specialize on that particular list. I don't jump around. So if you're going from absentee to probate to pre-probate, believe it or not, probate and pre-probate, they're different lists, to pre-foreclosures, you're going to be struggling to execute on this one strategy because it's going to be nearly impossible for you to be able to focus and understand the pain points and the struggles from any one seller because you're hopping around way too much, right? So you need to first pick a list and focus. And I don't care what any guru has told you out there that you got to do multiple lists, 19 different styles of marketing and all this nonsense. Like we do over 100 grand every single month with a team of 2 people and 1 list. That's it. That's all we need. That's all we got to do. And we're in San Antonio and we do the pre-foreclosure list, which according to a lot of people in San Antonio, it's a very competitive list. But we still do very, very well. Again, this one strategy is the majority of the reason of why we do so well. So what is preemptive persuasion? You are able to pretty much bring up to the seller a challenge or a situation that they're going through that they haven't told you yet, right? So, for example, you're dealing with somebody in probate and they're telling you, you call them, you say, hey, are you interested in selling your house, whatever it is, whatever the opener is. And they say, no, I'm not interested. It's like, all right, no, not a problem at all. It's just the reason I was just even giving you a call is I was helping out Mrs. Sanders down the street. And the situation was kind of weird. I mean, it may not even relate to you, but they were in a probate situation. And when you're in probate, you're dealing with relatives and all these things, and you have this house that you just don't know what to do with, and there's a bunch of stuff in there. So we were able to just come in, kind of get all the relatives, everybody on the ball, and really get everybody connecting. And then we were helping with all the move and getting rid of all the furniture. We just took care of everything. So just a quick little example of what we do, and if it ever even makes sense for you, we're here. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, yeah, I mean, that's interesting you say that, because I'm in a probate situation. You don't say. Of course I know they're in a probate situation, because the list I'm marketing to is probate. But preemptive persuasion is me using things I already know about people in probate to my advantage of saying, hey, I've helped out people in this situation, right? So you're able to get ahead of them with whatever the objection might be, because guess what? A lot of people are not very open to telling you what their problems are. They're not that quick to share with you what their challenges are. So you got to be willing to say, hey, I have experience in these things. And all of a sudden it's like, oh man, those are the things that I need to do. Those are the problems that I'm having issues with. Yeah, let's talk a little further, right? Because I mean, what a coincidence that you call me about this thing, and that's exactly what I'm going through. I'm like, I know. I completely know. Pre-foreclosures. We deal with these all the time. All the time. You call somebody in pre-foreclosure, they're like, oh, I got it taken care of. Oh man, I'm so glad to hear you say that. I just and please, I'm not even trying to bother you or anything. My only goal here is to make sure you don't lose your home. Because I mean, this actually brings up a recent situation that I was dealing with, that the homeowner, he really thought he had it taken care of, because he was going to borrow the money and take care of the reinstatement. But what ended up happening is he waited too long. The family that was going to lend him the money never ended up lending him the money, and then he ended up losing the house like in the last moment. And they called me like a week later saying, hey, is there anything I can do? I'm like, not now. If you would have called me a week before, I could have helped you out. So that's all I'm saying. Just want to make sure. It's like, wait, well, what do you mean? I'm looking to get a loan from my family too. Well, so what happened? Oh, okay, interesting. Right? Why? Because I've dealt with way too many foreclosures. Anybody that tells me I've taken care of it, that's not the final answer for me. You understand? I've taken care of it. That means absolutely jack shit to me. I want to know exactly how did you take care of it. And the majority of the time, it is the same thing. I took care of it. What does that mean? That you're trying to take care of it. You're going to take care of it. You're hoping you're going to take care of it. I need to know the specifics. Because if I'm going to give up on you, I want to make sure that you're still taken care of. Right? So I want to bring that across. And how do I bring that across? You could ask them, well, do you mind me asking, how'd you take care of it? What's the answer going to be? Mind your business. Don't worry about it. I got it. Right? So if you come out directly and ask these questions, you're not going to get much cooperation from the seller. This is why we preemptively set up a story, right, of somebody that we helped in those common situations that particular list goes through. So again, pre-foreclosures, they have the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm already working on it. It's like, oh, that's excellent. Let's say we have stories for loan modifications. Yeah, I was helping out Mr. Rogers, Mr. Rogers, from the neighborhood over, and he thought he was getting a loan mod done. And what he didn't realize is until a loan mod gets approved, you can still get foreclosed on, right? So he thought he was in the process of doing a loan mod. Lo and behold, he lost the house, right? Because the foreclosure came through anyway, and the loan mod had never been approved, and they lost the house. So this way, it's a better way of getting to what the actual situation is, or what they think their solution that they found is, versus me just coming out and asking them. Right? So you're doing these things before they need to tell you anything. And what it ends up doing is if you hit the right strategy which when you focus and specialize on one list, you're able to do more often than not. What ends up happening is they're like, holy crap, man, this guy or girl really knows what the heck they're talking about. You understand? They really know. I feel like I can work with them. They may not be going through all those emotions at the same time, right? But it's going through their heads. And it's just, why do I say this? One, I've made tens of thousands of calls. I've spoken to thousands and thousands of sellers. And when I use this technique, the responses are the majority of the time always the same. It's like you're in my head. Yeah, man, I can't believe that's exactly what I'm going through. I'm like, I know, because I've been through this before. So again, how does this strategy work? You got to pick one strategy. You got to pick one list and be the best at that list. Learn everything you can possibly learn about that list. And I know you're saying, John, how can I possibly learn everything about that list? You join my mastermind, of course, duh. But you, with enough experience, now, of course, you can join a mastermind. Somebody can train you through all the objections, everything quicker, or you just learn them by just how I did it. It just took me years to learn, but you can do it the same way. Pick a list. All lists work very, very well. You understand? There's not one that's like, oh, pre-foreclosures are better than pre-probates or probates. No, it's whatever list you can focus on and be really, really good at, you're going to crush it. All right. And then what you want to do is, had it here, I was looking for it, but I tell all my students, get a journal. You grab this journal, and after every call, you write down objections, you write down responses, you write down stories. You're going to keep a log of all of these things in your notebook. Now, all of this training is part of like the 9 pillars that I teach. And if you want a free PDF on that, I want you to just comment below or text me the word PWM to 210-794-9898, and I'll send you the free PDF with all the breakdown of the 9 pillars. But what you want to make sure is when you take that journal is you're documenting all the objections, all the rebuttals, all the stories. I want you to be really detailed with all this. This serves in 2 ways. One, it's going to help you be more strategic and understand the issues and the problems people are going through. And it's going to help you prepare your objections beforehand so you can do preemptive persuasion. It's going to help you do all that. And secondly, what it's going to do is when you are ready to hire an acquisitions manager, somebody to be on your team to do what you're doing, so you can either step back and relax, or you can step back and focus on flips and acquiring rentals and things like that. You have a training book. That's exactly what that is. That is your training manual at that point. So it works in 2 ways. One, it's going to make you a much better closer. And 2, it's going to get you ready for when you're ready to hire. You have a training manual you've been building over the course of, a year or however long you've been doing it. So that was one of the biggest regrets I've had, that it took me so long to get to that level. So that's really the nut and bolt of this. I mean, there's obviously more nuances with the preemptive persuasion and everything. So if you have any questions, anything like that, just let me know. You can schedule a free strategy session with me. Just go to joinpwm.com, joinpwm.com, and you can schedule a free strategy session with me. You only do get one of those, so make sure you really need it. That way you have all your questions, because we'll sit down and I'll dissect your whole business with you and give you like actionable strategies that you can implement to get you to that next level. All right. So with that being said, that is the training. Thank you all for being here. And for those of you attending live, I'll get into any Q&A. So if you have any questions, let me know, put it in the chat. And if that's it, then thank you all for watching.